Hey, you can't skip this video. I really just have something short to say. Welcome to the page, Everything Drew. This is everything me, but really it's everything Christ, right? And I think that you could follow me, this page, even as I follow Christ. Let's go. Oftentimes we tell ourselves that we shouldn't give up on people when they're down. Usually we say, hey man, when people are at their lowest, that we shouldn't give up on them. And I actually think that that's kind of slightly an unfair philosophy to have. And by that I mean, I just think that it's kind of passive, right? I think that instead of saying, hey, when people are at their lowest that we shouldn't give up on them, I think a more active approach and an active philosophy would say, hey, when people are at their lowest, we need to invest in them. So not just merely, hey, I'm not gonna give up, right? But man, when people are at their lowest, when people are down, I need to invest in them. There's actually this story in the Bible that kind of blew my mind. I'm reading through the book of Jeremiah, or I just finished reading through the book of Jeremiah, and something interesting popped out to me. In the book of Jeremiah chapter 32, in verse number 2, the Bible says, "For then the king of Babylon's army besieged Jerusalem." To besiege a place was pretty much just to barricade it, to cut off its food and water supply, with an intention essentially to go to war, right? With an intention to plunder the city, to destroy the city. And so here the Bible is saying that Nebuchadnezzar and the king of Babylon, or the kingdom of Babylon, was about to attack Jerusalem. It says, "And Jeremiah the prophet was shut up in the court of prison, which is in the house of the king of Judah." And so I think this is deep here, because right here we see that Jeremiah is actually in prison technically, right? And Jerusalem is about to be plundered as a city. Jerusalem is about to be destroyed, right? Now in this state, watch what happens. Watch what happens in the same chapter in verse number 6, the Bible says, "And Jeremiah said," while he was in prison, while the king of Babylon was about to plunder Jerusalem, while in the midst of a war, watch what happens in verse 6. "And Jeremiah said, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying," verse 7, "Behold, Hananiah, the son of Shallum, your uncle, shall come to you, saying, Buy thee my field that is in Anathoth, for the right of redemption is thine to buy it." Verse number 9, "And I bought the field of Hananiah, my uncle's son, my cousin, that was in Anathoth, and weighed him the money, even 17 shekels of silver." And so what do we see here? We see here that God tells Jeremiah, hey, buy a field. Now, if you're just reading the text, it probably will go over your head. You'll probably miss it. But when you're immersed in the story, you say, well, when I read this, I'm like, wait, God, why are you telling Jeremiah to buy a field in the midst of a war zone? Why are you telling Jeremiah to buy a field in a place that you just promised to destroy? That doesn't even make sense. Furthermore, Jeremiah's in prison, right? And it really just opened my mind and my eyes to the sort of character and the ways and the workings of God. And what I mean by that is God invests in things that seem like they're about to be destroyed. I'm gonna just let that one sink in. When things are at their worst, when things are on the brink of destruction, when people are on the brink of failure, I believe that God doesn't just say, hey, I won't give up on you. I believe God is saying, hey, I will invest in you. Man, God tells Jeremiah, buy a field in a place that is about to be destroyed. I mean, I think we believe in this kind of philosophy, right? Because we look at in terms of like real estate investments, right? We say, hey, like some of the best houses to invest in are the sort of dilapidated ones, the ones that are broken down. Why? Because if you build these things up, their value and your return on your investment will be that much greater than had you just bought a house that was perfectly fine, you know? And if you invest in a house that's dilapidated, put in, just a relatively decent amount of money, that house will not just only maybe even triple in value, it might even be worth more than all the other houses on the block. And so when I read this, I'm like, wow, God, like this really is your personality. You really are telling Jeremiah, buy your field in a place you're gonna destroy. And really, I just wanna, really not even really get all too like preachy, but really just kick it real to you guys. God has a plan. In the midst of your destruction, in the midst of life not seeming like it makes sense, God has a plan. God is going to tell you, hey, invest in yourself when nobody else will. Invest in yourself when it doesn't seem like it will make sense, because he has a plan. And we see that plan in the book of Jeremiah, in the very same chapter. And kind of scrolling down to the end here, it's actually powerful, because in verse number 28, the Bible says, in Jeremiah 32, therefore thus saith the Lord, behold, I will give this city into the hand of the Babylonians and into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon. He will take it. Like God promised that the kingdom of Babylon would overthrow the kingdom of Jerusalem, or of Israel, sorry. And then in verse 36 it says, and now therefore thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, concerning this city, Jerusalem, it shall be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon by the sword and by famine and by the pestilence. Behold, I will gather them out of all countries, whither I have driven them in mine anger and in my fury and in my great wrath, and I will bring every single person again into this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely. I think that's deep here, because if you really study the book of Jeremiah, even Isaiah, even Ezekiel, we see that while God is promising to destroy, he's also promising to restore and rebuild. And so here God is literally telling Jeremiah, man, I will bring the people back. I will cause them to dwell here safely. Verse 30, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. Verse 39, and I will give them one heart. That sounds like the new covenant to me. And one way, and they will fear me forever for the good of them and their children after them. Watch this now, verse 40. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them, that I will not turn away from them to do them good, but I'll put my fear in their hearts, that they shall not depart from me. That right there is the new covenant, where God does something to your heart, where he puts his fear, which is his truth, which is his law, where God writes his law in your heart and in your mind in Hebrews 8 and even in Hebrews 10. Like, this is the new covenant promise. And so I think this is deep here, because God makes these kinds of promises. He invests in people even when they're at their lowest. And I think that if you want to apply this to your life or somebody around you's life, I think really it would mean to invest in that person. It would mean to invest in that thing when it's at its lowest and when it seems like it's on the brink of destruction. And that person even might be yourself. And why? Because God has a plan. God has a plan to restore. God has a plan to rebuild. God has a plan to do things that it did not seem like was possible. And it's easy for us to say, man, I'm throwing in the towel. Or, man, no, I can't give up. And like, okay, I'm not going to give up, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm actively engaged in investing in a person's future and mental health and well-being. And so I think that just reading and meditating on this really just shows God's heart, man. Hey, buy that field. Hey, invest in that place even though it seems like it's about to be destroyed. Hey, invest in that person, that friend, that family member, potentially even yourself, even though it seems like you're on the brink of destruction. Hopefully this was a blessing to you. Welcome to my page, by the way. I strive to put out short videos, max 10-15 minutes max, at least once a week. This channel is called Everything Drew. It's just about everything me. I love God. I love health. I love fitness. I love school. I have a little YouTube channel. You could check it out if you want longer videos or just different content. Also, I'm going to make a Patreon page if you want to support that. We're going to be putting up longer, sort of more in-depth Bible studies and stuff that's going on with business and personal life. And so if you want to check that out, you can check that out as well. But welcome to the page, and I pray God will bless you. And I pray that you remember the lesson today, that you should invest, even if it be yourself, in people and in things that seem like they're on the brink of destruction, because God has a plan, and he has made a promise that even that very thing that seems like it's about to be destroyed will